Well, hey everybody, I'm John Redlund back with the third part of every WWE and WCW Cruiserweight champion ranked from worst to best. If you missed the first part, or the second part, or you missed both, check out the links up here. I'll space them out. That way you guys can, figure out which ones you want to watch first. Hell, you could just watch them in a random order. That's the fun of YouTube. Thank you guys, by the way, for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. As I'm just a wrestling fan doing shit. That's it. That's really all I'm doing. I'm just giving my opinions on stuff, these ranking videos and all this. Just my opinions. Comment box is there if you want to leave your thoughts. So, top 20, we start off with Tajiri at number 20. 13 days as WWE Light Heavyweight Champion. You're thinking, well, that's not very good. But as WWE Cruiserweight Champion, 287 days over 3 reigns. And that's why he's here. Tajiri, I actually got to see face Super Crazy at a Defied Northwest wrestling show and got to meet both of them. Super Crazy, very, very nice. Tajiri, very nice. Actually he was out there at ringside taking pictures with his phone of the Ultimo Dragon Matt Cross match that I got to see, and that was actually pretty funny. But Tajiri, still a great performer even now, but back then he was a great heel. He really was. I mean, he was a good babyface, but he was a much better heel. And as champion, it's really hard to dismiss 287 days. Even over 3 reigns, it's hard to dismiss that. Tajiri's a goddamn great performer. Now we move back to the UWA. Gran Hamada, 163 days, 2 reigns with the WWE Light Heavyweight Championship. Gran Hamada has, I believe as Joey Styles said it on the Barely Legal commentary. Barely Legal 97, by the way, the ECW pay-per-view, not trying to imply anything about Joey Styles. I should word these things better. But he said Gran Hamada has held more junior heavyweight championships than I could possibly mention in a 3-hour pay-per-view. And Joey did a great job calling that show, by the way. But Gran Hamada means so much to wrestling in general. I mean, just really does. Honestly, Gran Hamada is absolutely great. Even if he didn't get to hold the title that long, his prestigious name on this championship added a whole lot to it. So, I mean, I know it sounds like I'm dismissing it right away and not like getting to talk a ton about it, but I haven't been able to see a ton of Gran Hamada stuff. If you have anything, please, the comment box is there. Back to the UWA, or sticking with the UWA, that is. Rambo, no, not the Sylvester Stallone character. 281 days, 1 reign as the WWE Light Heavyweight Champion. Okay, cool. Hey, that's a lot of days. They obviously had a lot of faith in him, and he must have put on some pretty goddamn good matches to have that title for 281 days. Number 17, Aeroflash, 282 days, 1 day better than Rambo, 1 reign as the WWE Light Heavyweight Champion. I've heard of Aeroflash, haven't been able to see all that much. I know Aerostar, he was in Lucha Underground, but Aeroflash I've heard the name of. Can't recall really anything I've seen of him. But again, pretty much like Rambo, that's a long time to hold the championship, close to 300 days. That's a lot. That's a lot. Good fucking God. How could I ignore that? How can I ignore facts even if I haven't seen a ton of their match? How can I ignore facts like that? Then we move to number 16, Jamie Noble, 147 days, 1 reign as the WWE Cruiserweight Champion. Jamie Noble and Nydia were an underappreciated odd couple or whatever on WWE TV. They were great. It was stupid, but they were great, and they made the most of it. It was stereotypical. It was bad TV, but they also made the most out of it, and they made it the most entertaining that they could. And Jamie Noble, great goddamn worker. Really great goddamn worker. He was great in the dying days of WCW, and that's not his fault. It was just the dying days of WCW. And he was great when they brought him over in WWE. He had a great feud with the Hurricane. He had a great feud with Billy Kidman, where Billy Kidman finally beat him at Survivor Series 2002. How the fuck do I remember this stuff? I can just hear Derb, if you happen to be watching this, saying, well, you're a wrestling encyclopedia. Sometimes I am. This list has proven that I still have a lot to learn, but then again, what fan doesn't have a lot to learn? Back to Jamie Noble. I loved him as Cruiserweight Champion. He was great. He was a great heel. Yeah, okay, after that, they didn't really give him another reign, which is a shame, because I think they really should have. But his lone reign deserves a big shout on here. Number 15, El Signo. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. 1 reign with the WWE Light Heavyweight Championship for 563 days. So they must have really had a lot of faith in him, and he must have put on some great classics. And had a lot of, blood feuds, or had a lot of light heavyweight, classics, aerial displays of just like insanity or whatever. The whole point is this guy must have had a lot of faith, from the company. And from WWE in general, like in UWA, good God, I mean, that 563 days, good Lord. It's not the longest reign. That comes up a little bit later. But that's a long time to have a championship. How can I not mention him in the top 20? Number 14, X-Pac. And this is kind of interesting. He had 197 days with 2 reigns as the WCW Cruiserweight Champion, Cruiserweight Championship that is, and 133 days with 1 reign as the WWE Light Heavyweight Championship. That, over 300 days. Over 300 days, 330 days. Good fucking God. I mean, sure, maybe those reigns don't combine to over a year like the previous one that I mentioned, but he was seen as somebody that could be trusted with the championship in 2 companies. And even though you could argue his WWE runs were better, his WCW run was really not that bad. It really wasn't. It ended prematurely. No, not making a joke out of that. It did end prematurely, but he was still somebody that could be relied on to have great matches, and he did. And, I mean, he thankfully retired from the ring. I mean, I say thankfully because it seemed like he wanted to be done, so good on him. But X-Pac, whether he was X-Pac, 6, it didn't matter. There was no light heavyweight championship in WWE at the time, or at least, not one they were going to throw in on WWE TV. They kept it in the UWA. It's a shame, actually, as 1-2-3 Kid, he didn't get a chance to be the champion there. Imagine that. Imagine how cool that would have been. But yeah, X-Pac, 6, whatever. Got to mention him here. Great, very, very innovative. That match he had as 1-2-3 Kid against Hakushi at SummerSlam 95, that was absolutely great. I know that was before this stuff, but still, I gave a shout to that. Then we go to number 13 for the UWA. Pegasus Kid, 560 days, 1 reign as the WWE Light Heavyweight Champion. Who was the Pegasus Kid? It was Chris Benoit. So, putting to the side the horrible things that he did, hard to do that, 560 days. And he wrestled in Mexico and Japan and that kind of stuff, and he could have great matches anywhere. That's a long time to have the championship. And for somebody that was really goddamn innovative as a high flyer, as a brawler, as just like a chop fest heavy motherfucker, he was somebody that, you want to have him a title and you want him to make it prestigious, he'll do it. You just got to give him a chance. And boy, did he. This is how you do it. Honestly, this is. And then we get to number 12, Neville. 232 days. He had 2 reigns technically, but he had a reign from, the Rumble to just before SummerSlam, and then from SummerSlam to, I think it was just soon after, where he lost it to Enzo. So yeah, 232 days, that's a long time. That's a long time, and Neville had to fight, scratch, and claw, and do everything he could. He made that title mean something. He would go out there and absolutely destroy himself, do some great shit, great heel work. He should have been used a whole lot better, but nope, WWE wouldn't take him out of the Cruiserweight division, and then they had him job to Enzo, and he left. Good job, WWE. You lost one of the best goddamn talents in the world. Folks, I will return in 1 minute. All right, folks, sorry, back just after that short break. Neville, though, really deserved a lot more from the company. I'm not saying that he should have ever been WWE champion, but they had a really great talent in him. And okay, you could argue that maybe the way he acted and took his ball and went home or didn't want a job to Enzo, maybe you could argue that that is something that people, that's a point of contention and people may not agree with that. I kind of do get his point. I do get why people would be frustrated with him. And sure, he's got to realize that it is a work and that he does have to lose sometimes, but losing to Enzo was ridiculous. That being said, especially his initial Cruiserweight title run, fucking hell, he had some incredible matches and, just was not given any respect at all. I think the only main roster one he had was on, I think was on Fastlane against Jack Gallagher. How sad is that? Oh, well, it is what it is. Well, the whole point is main roster or main card or pre-show, Neville always gave his best performances. Now he's tearing it up in AEW. No, well, he tore it up in Dragon Gate for a while, now in AEW. But anyway, number 11, Chavo Guerrero Jr., 437 days, 6 reigns between WCW and WWE. And he had one pretty lengthy WWE Cruiserweight Championship run, but yeah, Chavo Guerrero Jr., somebody that would probably be remembered a whole lot better if, Eddie wasn't so goddamn iconic and everything. I have nothing against Chavo. Chavo, who is a great performer, still is. He was a great champion. 6 reigns, sure, okay. It's like about 80 days per, or no, close to 80 days. But the whole point is he always, no, not aided. The whole point is he was somebody, I think it's actually more like 70, but he's a great goddamn champion. Yeah, he never got to hold some of the gold for too long, but anytime he did, anytime he had it, it meant something. It really meant something. It's just a goddamn shame that his last pay-per-view match against WWE, or in WWE, by the way, against Sin Cara at Over the Limit 2011, which I was at. Let me tell you right now, I felt bad for Chavo. And that Sin Cara lighting, I don't care if it's like 8.5 years later. That was some bullshit. That was some fresh goddamn bullshit. That was fucking ridiculous. But Chavo, great champion. Number 10, Taka Michinoku. One reign as WWE Light Heavyweight Champion, but it was 315 days. This is how you push a division right off the bat. Taka Michinoku, I mean, he faced off against others, and, Aguila, and a few others, and I forget who, like, some of the people were that they had in WWE, because I think they brought in some of the talents they used to work with in UWA that weren't under contract elsewhere. They didn't have the depth of the division that Bischoff had in WCW. But still, Taka Michinoku, yeah, okay, he didn't have maybe the depth to work with, but by God, the guy's performances were incredible. I mean, I tweeted out at one point, based on ability alone, he should have been WWE champion. If you're going to base it on in-ring ability, he excited crowds. He could have gotten the fans to buy in. I'm not saying he would have been WWE champion. I don't know if it would have worked. It probably wouldn't have worked. But by God, I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen Taka Michinoku get a crack at a bigger belt. But still, 315 days, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's nothing to sneeze at or sneeze at. Easy for me to say. Number 9, Jushin Thunder Liger. 66 days, one reign as the WCW Cruiserweight Champion. Or no, it was the Light Heavyweight Champion, actually. And in 183 days, one reign as the WWE Light Heavyweight Champion. This was during the whole New Japan thing, that kind of stuff. And Jushin Thunder Liger, got to see him live about just under 2 weeks ago at the Super J Cup in Tacoma. I got to see one of the guys that brought me into Japanese wrestling. Him, Muda, and Masahiro Chono. And that was a thrill. But Jushin Thunder Liger, sure, okay, the numbers may not add up to being as big as some other reigns, but I'm putting him here for just how much and how innovative and how much he popularized light heavyweight wrestling. Yes, in Japan, even though others were doing it too, but he helped add just another level to it, and he was really just straight out of a comic book, out of an anime, I mean, based on his look and all that. But his moves, everything, he could just do it all. Still can. He's going to be retiring in about 4 months, or about 4 months at Wrestle Kingdom 14. I'm going to be a freaking mess whenever he retires. I'm probably not going to be able to do that review very well, but I will still do it. But I got to put Jushin Thunder Liger in the top 10 for just how innovative he was. Even if he held other championships longer, still got to put him on here. Number 8, Dean Malenko, 189 days with 4 reigns as WCW Cruiserweight Champion or championship, and 2 reigns with the WWE Light Heavyweight Championship, totaling 357 days. Do not tell me that Dean Malenko should not be in your top 10. I almost wanted to put him top 5, but because I'm including the older WWE Light Heavyweight Champions, I had to put Dean Malenko down a little bit. And sure, I maybe could have flipped a couple here, but Dean Malenko, for what he did for Cruiserweight Wrestling all over. I mean, and he did great technical wrestling in ECW, but in WCW, in his brief run in WWE, just his time as champion, he was great. He was fucking incredible. I mean, it's great that he's found work in AEW, and that he wants to do, and that he still wants to be in wrestling. I mean, for what he is, it's a shame. I believe he revealed in an interview that he has Parkinson's disease. Thoughts and well wishes go to Dean Malenko, of course, and anybody else suffering from that illness. But Dean Malenko, for what he did in wrestling, I can't say enough good shit about him. Just the matches he did. He had that ice cold stare. Whenever he went out there, you believed he was going to beat the shit out of anybody and do anything he could to keep the championship. One match that I particularly enjoyed, even though I believe he lost, it was Eddie Guerrero against Dean Malenko's Starrcade 97. And that was it was a way to open up Starrcade. And I mean, you could argue it was better than the main event. It was better than the main event because Sting versus Hogan stunk the joint out. Because it was booked like shit. Another story for another day. He had a great series of matches with Rey Mysterio. He just could wrestle anybody. Like, Dean could make anybody look good. He made Disco Inferno look good in a match. Right there. That doesn't tell you how good Dean is. Now we move to number 7, Billy Kidman, 334 days, 7 reigns between WCW and WWE. So sure, okay, between the 7 reigns, it didn't even equal a year. You can't say that Billy Kidman wasn't goddamn good. Billy Kidman, incredible. Incredible in the ring. Okay, his promos, no, not all that great. He wasn't meant to talk. He didn't have to talk. Could have got him a manager. He's somebody that should have been U.S. champion, Intercontinental champion at least. WWE, maybe not. But U.S. and Intercontinental champion. It's a shame the injury bug got him, or otherwise I think he probably would have been a mid-card champion at least. But yeah, Billy Kidman, I absolutely love Billy Kidman. His in-ring work was incredible. It really was. I mean, referencing a match I referred to in the previous video with Hoovy on the September 14th, 1998 edition of Nitro. That was great. He could have great matches with anybody. Sure, he would botch Shooting Star Press. Botches happen. And he still would recover from that stuff. He could have face or heel, but he's mostly face. He could have good matches with anybody. I mean, his stuff in the flock, maybe not all that great, but once he was able to break out of that, whoo, it got great. Number 6, Chris Jericho, 259 days, 4 reigns, WCW Cruiserweight Champion. It was the whole thing of man of 1,004 holds, the whole conspiracy victim thing. Him being Cruiserweight Champion, wanting to challenge Goldberg. Him doing some great stuff like taking Mysterio out when Mysterio needed knee surgery. Chris Jericho got to have so much fun in WCW, even though he should have been used a whole lot better. He had some great runs. He has some great runs with that title. He really fucking did. Sure, he didn't get to hold it past, I think 65 days. I think it was about 65 days, something like that on average. He was able to just have some great fucking matches. He just was. We get to the top 5 now, and I'm going to finish up on this list. Thank you guys for sticking with me on this. Number 5, Brian Pillman. 171 days, 2 reigns as the WCW Light Heavyweight Champion. Okay, you might wonder after all the figures and everything why I put Pillman up this high. If it wasn't for Brian Pillman, I don't think the Light Heavyweight Championship would have existed in WCW. Or it wouldn't have gotten nearly the prominence that it did. Because he beat, I want to say, a heel Ricky Morton, if I remember right. That was part of the York Foundation. Pillman was somebody that could just do so many great things. He had a great match out of Lex Luger at Halloween Havoc 1989. That's saying something. And more retro reviews, by the way, will come up of 1999 and 1989 WCW pay-per-views. Maybe in 94. Maybe Halloween Havoc 94. Oh boy, the cage match between Flair and Hogan. I can't wait. But anyway, Pillman was great as champion. He did lose it, I believe, to Jushin Thunder Liger, and then won it back at Super Brawl 2, and then held it for a bit, losing it to Scotty Flamingo, and then the Light Heavyweight Championship got taken away. Had it not gotten taken away, I think he would have gotten another run with it, and probably could have done some more stuff with it. But for Pillman, being the aerial assassin he was and popularizing American cruiserweight action, I got to put him up here. You might disagree. Maybe I should have put Dean Malenko top 5, but it's my list. And going back to the UWA for the 2 of the final 4 entrants, the late great Perro Aguayo, 956 days, 7 reigns with WWE Light Heavyweight Championship. I mean, it's Perro Aguayo. R.I.P. Perro Aguayo. We've lost a lot actually recently as far as older wrestlers, but Perro Aguayo was pretty goddamn good. Really, really good. I mean, him, Silver King, and R.I.P. Silver King. There was a lot of... Perro Aguayo was really somebody that was very, very innovative for Lucha Libre, for Cruiserweight Wrestling, whatever. He's pretty goddamn good. I can't pretend like I know a ton about his light heavyweight title runs in WWE, or with the WWE version at least, but 956 days over 7 reigns. I mean, come on. How am I going to ignore that? I can't. Then we get to number 3, it's Viano 3. This is also for the UWA. 2,040 days, 7 reigns with the WWE Light Heavyweight Championship. 1 reign was 826 days. Famous Viano brothers, villain, in other words. Rudo, if you want to be right. But yeah, they were all brothers, I believe. And Viano 3, it was Viano 3, Viano 4, and Viano 5. They were in WCW very, very briefly. But yeah, 826 day singular reign, 2,040 days overall. I'm sorry. Do you want me? Do I need to quote that again? No, I don't. Numbers right there. Got to rank him there. However, the final two, Hurricane Helms at number 2, 532 days, 3 reigns, WCW, WWE, including one like year-long reign, or I think it was like a 13-month reign that he had from the Royal Rumble 2006 to I think No Way Out 2007. Yeah, I mean that right there. That's like just that's like three. It was like 300. Well, it might not have been quite 13 months, but it was like 390 days or something like that. So it was still quite a bit. And then he had the other run with the Cruiserweight title, before losing it to Noble. And then he had a WCW Cruiserweight Championship run. So yeah, Hurricane Helms deserves a shout and deserves the respect to be put up here at number 2. How can you not? He was very innovative. I mean, still is working with WWE. I think he retired from the ring, but hey, he's put in enough work in the ring. And he was a really good wrestler. And I really liked his run as Gregory Helms. The theme was pretty good. But number 1, I mean, come on, it's Rey Mysterio. And you want to know what the figures are? Okay, Rey Mysterio's figures might not seem like much, but 486 days, 8 reigns between WCW and WWE. Had it not been for Rey Mysterio, would the Cruiserweight division have survived? I'm not saying that other people couldn't have helped hold the title and try to carry it. Rey Mysterio was the X factor there. He was the goddamn X factor. And sure, he didn't get to hold the titles for very long. I think he had like one run after beating Dean Malenko that he held it for like I think 3 months. And other time I think in WWE, I think he held it for a few months after that. He didn't hold it long, but he didn't have to because he meant a whole lot to Cruiserweight wrestling and to wrestling in general. And he still does, even in 2019. Even though I think by next year, he's going to at least be done in WWE. He might, maybe make some indie appearances, maybe make some appearances for All Elite, who the fuck knows. And just looking at what he's done in his career, and especially just focusing on the light heavyweight, lucha libre, cruiserweight wrestling, whatever you want to call it, Rey Mysterio's got to he's got to at least be top 5. To me, he's number 1, and I know Derby's going to love that. So it's hard to put anybody other than Rey Mysterio up at number 1. Now, if I forgot anybody, please, the comment box is there. Please let me know and give me your opinions. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.